yourself into social media to the extent that you can't manage it yourself if you're flying solo right now. So a lot of you are probably going to be doing what you're doing on your own for some time, and you're just going to be changing hats depending on the day, depending on the time of day, and whatever the phone call that you're taking at that moment happens to dictate, right? So if you have a blog and you want to do some Twitter stuff, and you have a Facebook fan page, and you've got YouTube videos that you want to manage, and all these different things going on, at some point that's going to become overwhelming. So one of two things is going to need to happen. You're going to either need to cut back on that, or you're going to need to have somebody else manage it for you. And if you're not at a point where it's scalable, where you can afford to pay somebody to do that for you, just, I guess, be careful of how you manage that time. Yes, ma'am?
How would you recommend that when we're doing our business plan, to write your service into our plan as when we're someone like you?
So to write in sales training, sales coaching,
Yes.
or sales continuing education,
Yes.
I would actually put that as part of your team. Part of the ongoing process for continuing to make sure that you're on top of the sales game. That's part of your team, that's part of your vision for maintaining excellence with your team of professionals. It's probably the way that I would put it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. What other questions do you have?
Do you still do consulting and training?
Yes, we do. We do indeed.
Because we can record it,
We is 317 Consulting Services, is the name of our company.
or? Okay.
We actually started the company 2.5 years ago here in Corona. And then we expanded, moved to Austin almost a year ago now. And so we have kind of 2 locations going. And we still have a lot of customers here in this area, so we're back in Southern California about once a quarter. And do the rest of what we do, most of our coaching can be done on the phone. Because it really, at that point, is more of an accountability process. And then the other folks that we have in Texas, and we have customers in Dallas and San Antonio, New York, Denver. So, and we can do a lot with video conferencing as well. So, those are always good options. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to thank you for that visual example about the pulling versus the
Oh,
handout.
you're welcome.
Especially the older my dad gets, I think the more I feel like pulling him toward Christ. But I really like that about the open hand and talking to the Lord.
Yeah. And it is the work of the Holy Spirit. We can only plant the seed. The Spirit's the one that's going to make the convicting and the changing of the heart.
So I've been praying. The longer I walk with the Lord, I learn to ask, Lord, how will you do my part? And then get out of the way so you can do your part.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Yes, sir.
I want to comment on that too. I enjoyed it because if you, like you said, you're throwing it out there. It's not threatening, and on top of that, if you're putting it out there, people will come closer so they can take
Yeah.
a look, and they're coming towards you.
They're drawn to it.
Right, which is you want them drawn to your idea,
Right.
your business, to you.
Excellent. Thank you. Glad we got so much out of it.
Yeah, almost as an invitation, as a distant extended hand where someone might, put their hand in yours and you kind of go on a little walk, kind of like to
Yeah.
explain the product or service and let them make that decision part of it as a relationship building, process.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank
Very
you.
interesting.
yeah.
Yes.
Did you find it beneficial, or did you even do when you switched out of working for other people to your corporation, or what you're doing right now, to niche down and to say, I'm going to be consulting, or I'm going to focus my business on just this part of the market? That niching down, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's really interesting. We thought we might have to do that we might have to do some kind of a industry vertical focus and only go after financial planners, or only go after insurance, or only, but it's been really interesting to see God's hand in all of that, because at this point I would have to say that we're industry agnostic. We do have financial planners, and we have insurance folks, and we've got some real estate folks, and we've got manufacturers, and we've got waste management and personal fitness, and it's across the board. And we actually also have a lady who is doing some salsa, so food products. I mean, we're all over the place. And
Hang in there, man.
yeah, So there's
I'm doing insurance, believe me, right now.
So
Big challenge.
it's been a lot of fun, and I guess it's surprising on some level, because we had an expectation that we might have to focus only on smaller businesses in a certain vertical. But we've been incredibly blessed that we continue to work with actually some Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies as well, doing training for them. And so it's a lot of fun, yes.
So what are some nuts and bolts about a service-oriented sales approach? What?
Okay. So the nuts and bolts of selling a service, that intangible that when you put your hand out there, there's still nothing in your hand, right? That really is all about discovery. Because you have a service that you can't wrap your hands around, right? So ultimately, you need to find out from the customer, what do their problems look like? And how can you solve them? And the real short and sweet of it, of how I put it, is where does it hurt? Why does it hurt? And how do I help you fix it? And that's really what it looks like. But it's a lot of discovery. I probably ask more questions and do 10 times more listening than I do speaking. Because ultimately, I want to know, do I even have the right service that I can solve their problem? And if I don't, then I play that trusted advisor role and I find another solution that fits better.
Okay, so you're asking more questions of them, finding out what their needs are, what their expectations are, what they want to accomplish.
Yep.
And whether or not, as a trusted advisor, I can meet that need or not, or say, you know what, I do know someone, call this guy
Yeah.
or this company or whatever.
Yeah, on the surface, it sounded like initially I was going to have the right fit for you, but now that I've gotten a little bit smarter about where your problems are, it looks like you might be better served over here.
Okay.
So, yes.